Hey everybody, it's Ned Bellavance, Ned1313, and welcome to the Daily Check-In. And today I'm joined by a guest, the awesome Holly Lehman. Welcome to the show, Holly. Say hi to all the nice people out there.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Ned. This is awesome.
Oh, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. How are things going for you in this crazy COVID land that we're living in at the moment?
Yeah, crazy is a good way to say it. But I will say at the end of this, we're going to come out with so many life lessons that as long as I still have a full head of hair, it's worth all the chaos.
Well, you seem to be doing all right. I could use some if you don't mind donating a little bit.
Sure.
So I wanted to have you on today to talk about the best career advice you ever got. But before we talk about that, we need to understand who you are and what you do. So why don't you tell everybody a little background about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Holly Lehman. You can find me on Twitter at Lehman__Holly. It is a pleasure to be on the show today, and I am a program manager at Microsoft. I work for the Azure product improvement team. So I'm here to get technical feedback on Azure and work with our engineering team for, prioritization and really understanding end use cases. The other part of my job that I absolutely love is I run what's called the North Star Partner Program. So I get to do hand selected work with different partners so that I can understand what they do, highlight the partner ecosystem, and again, drive feedback back into engineering so that we just make continual product improvements for Azure.
Interesting. So I imagine you have to deal with a lot of feedback. I'm sure some of it's constructive and some of it is less so. How do you keep a positive mental attitude when you're getting that sort of negative feedback?
So I'm really blessed because my career in Microsoft, I've had a little bit of work with customers, a little bit of work with MVPs, and a little bit of work with partners. And it's helped me to have a holistic view of the feedback coming in. And so instead of looking at it as negative, I look at it as this is their experience. And if it wasn't for them sharing it with me, we might not be making the improvements that we need. The other piece of it is I got really lucky. I ended up with really great partners who really make me feel like an equal in this very technical world. And it ends up being like a chat. Like, tell me why. Why is this an issue? Why are you missing this feature? Help me tell your story. So it
Hmm.
becomes more of a story versus a crab session, if you will,
That's great. It's really important to keep a positive mental attitude through all that.
especially now.
So we all have interesting career stories, ways that
Yeah.
we ended up where we are today. And there's usually these watershed moments where someone said something or did something or gave you a piece of advice that just kind of stuck with you and helped propel you forward. So I'm wondering if you could share some of those moments in your career that led you to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is actually hospitality. I'm from Las Vegas. So I have no technical background. And for the longest time, I've been in Microsoft for about 8 years now. And I always felt very inferior. I felt
Hmm.
like, what am I doing here? What do I have to offer? These humans that I work with are so unbelievably smart and technically deep. Why am I even here? And I did a brief mentorship with Donna Sakar where we talked about do the thing and the imposter syndrome. And I think for me, that was one of the highlights of my career was acknowledge your imposter syndrome. Okay, I acknowledge that I feel like I work with a lot of very smart humans that are technically deep, and I'm not. And then I also acknowledge, but I bring something to the table that many of them don't.
Hmm.
And then I started to focus on what my strengths are. So I absolutely have a passion for community, building a community, branding a community, building programs, and being able to take these technical humans and bring them together and then make things more successful and get people in a room talking. And so
Hmm.
even though sure I don't code, I have people on my team that have helped me write an ARM template. They've treated me as their equal, but I've started to, instead of acknowledging what I can't do, say, yes, I can if I want to learn it, but here's what I bring. And I
Hmm.
think that changing my perspective based on that imposter syndrome concept has been absolutely one of the best pieces of advice I've been given.
Wow. Yeah, I can absolutely see how that can be helpful because you're going into a situation where people could be very intimidating with
Very.
with their crazy technical knowledge, but you, like you said, you're bringing something unique and different to the table, and you really need to lean into that.
Mhm.
I think we first met at either MVP Summit, or it might have been at the Mall of America conference. I'm not sure, but immediately I was like, who's this person? Because you're not like this grumpy technical person who's like blah 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 blah. You were like getting people together and having fun. Have you continued in that since you've moved to different roles outside of the MVP program?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, so when we met at Mall of America, I took that imposter syndrome and I gave one of my first technical presentations in front of a room of about 80 people. And I was terrified and I was scared, but I challenged my imposter syndrome to say, sure, I don't code, but guess what I just did? I just deployed this ARM template.
Right.
And it was in a room full of very technically savvy people. And so I have continued that by the North Star Partner Program. I've leveraged the skill set that I have of program management and interviewing skills so that I can humanize these amazing partners that we get to work with. In addition, I've also started to brand the community experience through a video series that I run with my friend Isadora, Head in the Cloud, Heart in the Community, because I realized we all have cool skill sets. And when we bring all of those skills together, we make amazing things happen. And if we only had people that could code, if we only had people that could run a community, if we only had people that do these different things, we would never think outside of our box. And so we all bring something really important. And when we focus on our skills, we better the entire unification that we're working with. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I love that. So embrace your imposter syndrome. Just
Yep,
acknowledge it. You know it's going to be there.
absolutely.
Understand your strengths.
Yep.
Was there any discussion in there of looking at your weaknesses as well, or was it more just like focus on your strengths and lean into those?
I think for me personally, I think we all do this a bit different. If I were to focus on my weaknesses, I get very rabbit holed with it,
Mm,
because I am very hard on myself. It's naturally an inclination for me to see the good in others, but I always think of all these things that I can work on and do better. And so I started to go into work every day thinking, okay, I work with these intelligent humans that do these things technically, but what do I bring to them to make them more successful? And looking at it as a handshake feel versus what I can't do, has helped me really strive in the career that I have.
okay. And like you said, you had a mentoring session. Was that your only mentoring session, or have you had multiple mentors in your time at Microsoft?
That is one of the biggest gifts that Microsoft offers is the ability to have a mentorship program.
Hmm.
I've had multiple mentors. I did a brief mentorship, like I said, with Donna, where she pulled a few of us together on Twitter and we helped her create this book called Do the Thing. But I've had an ongoing mentorship with Mary Rodriguez. She runs the internship program for Microsoft. And that mentorship got me on Twitter. It got me out of my comfort zone. It got me jumping into presentations and concepts I would have never even thought I was qualified or capable of. And now we've become dear friends. So this mentorship started and has grown into something else. I have people like Jim Britt and Tim Benjamin, who have helped me grow technically. They've sat with me and walked me through Azure and what it means to deploy an ARM template and what does governance and blueprint and policy really mean. And so there's a mentor for all these different cool things. And when you find the right people that you're comfortable with and give you this open space to be you, it's a really cool partnership that you create and it helps grow you both.
Awesome. So yeah, my I think the key takeaways that I'm getting here is understand your imposter syndrome, lean
Yeah,
into your strengths, and find some mentors that can help guide you on your path.
absolutely. And get out of your comfort zone. It's
Get out
okay.
of your comfort zone. I love that. Yes, make yourself uncomfortable. That's one of my like three pillars personally. All right. So before I let you go, is there anything that you'd like to promote or plug?
Well, I already done a little bit of a plug, but if you haven't seen Head in the Cloud, Heart in the Community, it is a virtual journey around the world, humanizing these incredible humans in technology, showcasing what they're doing during COVID, what their passions are, and some of the really fun side hustles that you would never know about unless you joined our fun.
Yeah, I highly recommend the Thready Rex episode that just
Oh,
went
that
up.
was so
Oh
fun.
my God. Like I'd heard of Thready Rex, but I didn't know the story. Now I know the story. And if you, dear viewer, are interested, you have to check that out. I will include a link down in the description to that episode.
That's
Well,
awesome.
Holly, thank you so much again for being part of the Daily Check-In. I really appreciate it.
This was super fun. Thank you, Ned.